you're on.
Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen. Coming up on This Week in Baseball, the Oakland A's are minus a basher, but they're way up in the win column with a bullpen that's A+. Delivering blows in Kansas City.
Bo told me the other day that he does want to fight Tyson, and he has a sure shot method on how to beat him, and maybe you would like to share that with This Week in Baseball, Bo.
The Orioles head back to the future with a slew of young arms that recalls their glory days. So brace yourselves, one and all, because the time is here for This Week in Baseball.
Joyner at first takes the lead. Swinging a bouncing ball. Slow hopper to first. Lansford has it. Run to the bag. It's over, and the A's sweep the Angels. And Eckersley chalks up his sixth save to get the final out of the ballgame and preserve the win for Mike Moore.
It's no big surprise that the defending champions of the American League have won 7 out of 8. What is surprising is that they did it without Jose Canseco and his bashing sidekick, Mark McGwire. Fear not, say the A's. They're in excellent hands. Dave Stewart is coming off 2 straight 20-win seasons, and this year won his first 4 starts. But even with all that, he's all too anonymous.
Well, we're all a little bit upset. I think anybody with the Oakland A's that Stu, for some reason, has been slow in receiving the credit he deserves. From 87 now and 88 last year, Dave Stewart has emerged as one of the premier starting pitchers in the league. So whenever you talk about the premier starting pitchers, and you can make that list of however many you want, Dave Stewart's one of them.
So is Bob Welch, who came to Oakland last season and won 17 games, giving the A's another premier starter. Add to that dependable pair newcomer Mike Moore, and the best pitching staff in the league may have gotten even better. Still, when people think Oakland, they think power.
People want to continue to concentrate on our hitting, then it's going to take away from their ability to beat us as a ball club, because to beat us, you have to beat our pitching.
And come the late innings, that means having to beat the nearly unbeatable Dennis Eckersley, who's already picked up 7 saves. Like Eckersley, Rick Honeycutt also made the switch out of the rotation. As it turned out, he's become one of Oakland's prized middle relievers, a job that took some getting used to.
I like coming to the ballpark knowing you had a chance to be in the game, but it took really a half a year or so for me really to accept it, I think, knowing that you never would start again.
Rick Honeycutt was a key to our pitching staff last year. You know, he was really the only guy going into spring training last year that we were a little bit concerned, is Rick Honeycutt going to be able to do what we need him to do? And he proved that he could. So for me, he's what really brought that pitching staff, the bullpen, together.
A bullpen that last year saved a Major League record 64 games and is still earning great respect.
I'm sure when clubs play the Oakland A's, nobody ever says, boy, let's get into that bullpen. Because anytime the starter starts getting vulnerable, you can go to lefts and rights, and all 5 relievers are different. You know, there's power this, power that, there's sinkers, there's breaking balls. So, I mean, it's a manager's dream is to have a bullpen like this. Every manager will tell you, if you got a bullpen that you have confidence and can make your moves, it's one of the neatest ways to manage.
Nolan Ryan, now of the hotshot Texas Rangers, turned in one neat performance against Toronto, a display that took even Ryan's breath away.
See you later. A little late, were we, on that swing? Strikeout number 11.
In dismissing Blue Jay batters with dramatic results, the untouchable Nolan Ryan was bidding for his 6th career no-hitter. And then, with 2 outs to go,
There's a shot down the line. It's into the corner. The no-hitter is gone on a 1-out triple by Liriano here in the 9th inning.
in Finishing up with his 10th one-hitter, Ryan had his second disappointment in 11 days. In that previous outing against the Milwaukee Brewers, he lost a no-hitter in the 8th inning. Winning the 2 games, though, gave Ryan 275 career wins. No one appreciates the pitcher's remarkable achievements more than his thriving new team.
Aside from the fact that he can throw the ball as well as anybody who's ever lived, and he competes on the mound as well as anyone that I've ever seen, that one-on-one confrontation between hitter and pitcher, Nolan does that as good as anybody I've ever seen. People say, well, he's really going to help the young pitchers. He's going to help Bobby Witt. He's going to help everyone that he comes in contact with, including me, including my coaches, not overtly by coming in and telling me when to bunt or hit and run, but by being around and having that kind of personality, that kind of person rub off on other people in the community, in the organization, and on my team.
Seems a new style of play has been rubbing off on the Kansas City Royals. Take, for instance, their 3-game blowout in Boston, in which they stole 12 bases and ran the Red Sox ragged. No one was on the go more than Bo Jackson. In one game, he collected 3 of the Royals' team record 7 steals. The series also found Bo in the midst of a home run spree. With 4 in 6 games, he raised his league-leading total to 7. Question is, what else can he do?
Bo told me the other day that he does want to fight Tyson, and he has a sure shot method on how to beat him, and maybe you'd like to share that with This Week in Baseball, Bo.
Well, I can't share that with This Week in Baseball simply because if I do, Tyson's going to get wind of it, and he'll do just the opposite, and he'll probably beat me. So,
but if you don't give him your secret that you have about him, you can beat him.
Yes, I think I can, and I'm going to keep that until they say, gentlemen, go out and fight.
Okay, so as you see here that Bo has another hobby in the offseason. Now it's fighting.
Yes. I'll start with him.
The way Bo's been delivering blows of late, the Royals figure on being contenders themselves. Now in his 3rd full season, the former Heisman Trophy winner seems to have found the baseball knack. He clobbered Boston with 5 hits, including this one that touched off a debate. Was it or wasn't it?
No, it's got to be gone. It hit up there on the beams. It was the outfielders just trying to go with the deke, trying to trick an umpire.
I am the type of guy that you can't get to me physically, and you can't touch me mentally. I feel that my mind is stronger than the steel girders that are poured in this stadium. The stadium will fall down before you can get to me mentally.
Nothing modest about the talents of 6-time Gold Glove catcher Bob Boone, who at the age of 41 is sturdier than ever behind the plate. Boone feels his new team is brimming with talent, and that's reason enough that he signed up in the offseason.
My feeling that they have an excellent chance to win, and position by position, I think we're as strong as anybody in the game, and I have a great desire to play in another World Series.
Time now for this week's quiz, brought to you by today's Chevy truck. The Padres' Mark Davis recently earned 10 saves and 10 straight chances. Who holds the record for most saves in a row?
Everyone's going to be surprised by the way this ball club plays this year. I don't think we're going to be as what I call record-wise as badly as people think we are. We're going to have to play as a team, and we're going to play as a team. So I don't think any one individual is going to carry this team, but I think the strength is going to be with the pitching and the defense on this ball club this year.
The Baltimore Orioles have been winning with just that, pitching and defense. The pitching comes from homegrown talent like Jeff Ballard, who's leading the young flock with a perfect start, 4-0. Baltimore Sweetbirds of Youth are also humming the praises of Greg Olson, who's made a swift climb to the majors since he was picked in last year's college draft.
Baltimore Orioles selection number 0543, Olson, Greg Williams, right-handed pitcher, Auburn University.
There's a kid that's got a good fastball and a tremendous curveball. and we're going to get him to be a little better with the command of the strike zone, and I think he's going to be a good pitcher.
From college, I went from, you know, being able to just go out at any time and just say, okay, I need a strike out here and be able to get it. Now I got it. I went out there in the major league level, I was intimidated. I was, you know, thinking, well, these guys are only going to get 3 out of 10 hits, but all 3 of them are going to be on me. It's going to take, you know, a couple more, at least a year to get adjusted to that.
As for Bob Milacki, the adjustment has been a breeze. Called up last September, he gave up only 2 runs and 3 starts. With no let-up so far, he recently shut out the Twins as the Orioles got a taste of first place for the first time since 1985. The O's turned 4 double plays in the game, a spanking defense that has produced the fewest errors in the league. Pitching and defense have also brought another team up from the bottom.
Base hit right field. I don't know if he can score. They're going to send him. The throw to the plate. Braves win.
Welcome a new refrain for the Braves, who last season lost 106 games and finished at the bottom of the National League West. But these days, Atlanta is back on the rise, thanks in large part to a slew of young arms that's brought the Braves fresh respect. Reason number 1, Tom Glavine, the 23-year-old left-hander who's coming of age in his second full season. As for this year's early returns, a 3-0 record and an ERA well below 2. And give 3 wins to John Smoltz. At 21, he's another young starter that's got the Braves coming on strong.
A lot of these guys aren't real well known yet, but there's a lot of talent on this pitching staff, and you know, that seems to be the big question, is how good is the pitching staff here in Atlanta, and I'm real optimistic and real excited about working with them.
What makes the Braves even more chipper is their new bullpen ace, Baver the Saver. Joe Baver, that is, the 28-year-old reliever who spent parts of 8 years in the minors. So far in '89, he's been divine. 4 saves and a win. No wonder Russ Nixon likes the sound of things.
Baver to Ramirez. Hit towards second. Nice play. Treadway. Braves win.
While the Braves are on the rebound, so is their left fielder Lonnie Smith, hitting better than 300 and happily back on the beat. The one-time star of the National League was up, then down with a bout of drug addiction. Finally back up again. Smith had been released by Kansas City, but in the spring of 1988, he found new life with the Braves.
I had doubts at times, but I still felt I could play. As far as over here, I'm getting the opportunity to play again. It's not guaranteed yet, but at least I'm getting the shot to continue to play, as well as even the shot to be an everyday ball player again. So I'm happy about that when no one else was willing to give me the opportunity.
A veteran of 10 major league seasons, Smith got his first opportunity to play every day in 1980. That year, after bouncing up and down between AAA and the majors, he came up for good. And in 100 games with the Phillies, hit .339 and stole 33 bases, placing 3rd in Rookie of the Year balloting and earning the first of 3 World Championship rings. 2 years later, in 1982, Smith was traded to St. Louis, where he continued to shine. That year, he hit .300, led the league in runs scored, stole 68 bases, and was runner-up to Dale Murphy for MVP. And again, his team won it all.
We weren't picked to do well that year, and we were not even picked to do well in the playoffs as well as the World Series. So we felt really good and proud of ourselves because we beat the odds.
If Smith had a penchant for occasional slip-ups in left field, he also was slipping up in other ways. In 1983, a drug habit led to a mid-season stay in a rehab clinic. He returned and was later traded to Kansas City. There, his past drug use became public when he testified before a federal court in Pittsburgh. As it turned out, life in Kansas City wasn't the fresh start Smith had hoped for.
It just wouldn't disappear. You know, I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind discussing how I did it, how I got involved. But when it's constantly thrown at you by people who think that they can use it to destroy you in ways, you know, it's difficult. I know I made a mistake, and I'm paying for it. Every day of my life is still a battle to stay clean. You know, it's no miracle cure. You know, I live it day to day. I accept it for what it is, and I live my life the way I feel that I should live it, and that's clean.
Now for the answer to this week's quiz, brought to you by today's Chevy truck. Cleveland's Doug Jones set a Major League record last season with 15 saves in 15 consecutive appearances. Baseball is a friendly game, they say, and the dugout a real friendly place. I do mean friendly. Of course, sometimes you do get that itch to be alone. You know, when things get too chummy. Hey, pal, what's so funny? You got friends in high places? Sometimes a friend any place is all you need. Of course, there are times you just have to go it alone. A mutual admiration society? Don't look now, fellas, but even your best friends can sometimes feel like the enemy. Look now upon every batter's true enemy, their great play, as only the fellas in the booth can call it.
This is hit deep to right center field. Jeff Lemon going back. Williams over. Lemon makes a great catch. Loops it down the right side. He got it! What a catch! A stamp by Espinosa. From his knees, he's got him!
Deep right center field. Mookie Wilson. That's a sensation. Holy cow.
He started back, now comes in. And out goes Orlando to make a fantastic catch. Wow. Oh, what a catch by Davis in center field. Gary Carter drives it in left center. Van Slyke diving and making a great catch. Great catch by Brooke Jacoby.
Oh, what a play.
Looped into center. On comes Brett Butler. Makes a diving catch, and the inning is over. Great play.
Franco's going to turn around and take it over the top of his head.
Franco's such a wonderful hot dog.
Gerald Young on one of the greatest catches we've ever seen. One of the greatest catches we've ever seen here.
Well, I agree with you. And now let's open the notebook for This Week in Baseball's Twib Notes from around the majors. Angels rookie Jim Abbott, fresh up from the University of Michigan, struggled in his first two starts, but in his third outing, the 21-year-old, who was born without a right hand, held the Orioles in check for 6 innings and picked up his very first Major League win. From young to old, Wrigley Field had a 75th birthday, which ironically enough was held at night. 97-year-old former Cub Robert Wright helped honor the event. But the whole affair was upstaged as the slumping Cubs slumped under the pitching of Tim Belcher. Turning off the current on Chicago batters, Belcher beat the Cubs 4-0 for his second consecutive shutout and raised his scoreless inning streak to 19 innings. Andre Dawson is one Cub who's been exercising his clout. Against the Mets, he smacked home run number 300. It brought Hawk within range of his 2,000th hit, too. And only 40 players in history have ever collected 300 homers and 2,000 hits. Houston's Jim Clancy came up looking for his very first hit.
A little punch shot. Fair ball. Clancy will stay at first base, but he has his first career hit.
Seems after 12 years in the designated hitter league, Clancy was rusty on the base paths. You see, while running to first base, he pulled a hamstring and had to leave the game. Now, our Player of the Week, brought to you by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. When Rob Deere came up with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th and a chance to beat the Twins, he was definitely thinking long ball.
That ball was pulled foul out of the ballpark up over the second deck.
Moments later, Jeff Reardon got taken for a deadlier ride.
That ball has a chance, and the Brewers win.
Next week on This Week in Baseball, we'll take a look at catching, a job fewer and fewer players seem to want, and an issue that prompts many to say they don't make them the way they used to. And that's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.